The drama surrounding Kathy Engelbert's leadership has exploded into something no one in the WNBA saw coming, a complete power struggle that now threatens to undo years of progress. What started as quiet tension behind closed doors has become an all-out crisis, one so public and so damaging that even the NBA has been forced to step in. Adam Silver, the calm, methodical commissioner known for his steady hand, now finds himself at the center of a storm that isn't even his making. The WNBA is officially in panic mode, and the question on everyone's mind is whether Silver can actually save Itor if he's stepping into a league already too far gone to fix. For months, the cracks in Engelbert's leadership had been widening. Players were frustrated. Coaches were losing faith, and even longtime supporters began to question whether the commissioner truly understood her own players. When the players' union triggered the opt-out clause in their collective bargaining agreement, it set off a countdown that no one could stop. Negotiations, already tense, turned toxic. Instead of productive talks, meetings devolved into shouting matches. Players accused Engelbert of being detached, of ignoring their concerns about officiating, travel, and safety. The trust that held the league together evaporated almost overnight. By the time the finals tipped off, the WNBA wasn't being defined by its stars or its games. It was being defined by its dysfunction. Then came the moment that changed everything. Rumors began to swirl that star players were preparing to boycott the 2026 season unless Engelbert stepped down. The idea of a strike sent shockwaves across the league, especially as ticket sales dipped and arenas struggled to fill seats. The optics were disastrous. Sponsors began calling for meetings, networks demanded explanations, and the WNBA's growing popularity suddenly looked like a fragile illusion. That's when Adam Silver decided enough was enough. Early on a Monday morning, Silver broke his silence. His message was measured, but the weight behind his words was unmistakable. Speaking at NBC Sports headquarters, he called the WNBA's turmoil growing pains, a diplomatic phrase that barely concealed his frustration. He praised the league's progress under Engelbert but made it clear that relationships and trust were collapsing and that could no longer be ignored. To casual listeners, it sounded like standard commissioner talk, but to insiders, it was the start of something far bigger. It was the NBA stepping in to take control. Behind the scenes, Silver had already been briefed on just how bad things had become. Sources revealed that communication between Engelbert and her players had broken down completely. The union had stopped responding to her office, and even team executives were complaining that she'd gone quiet during critical negotiations. When she finally addressed the situation in a press conference, hoping to project confidence, her tone only made things worse. She dismissed the criticism as media noise. Those two words became the spark that ignited the firestorm. Players felt disrespected, fans felt dismissed, and even her allies started backing away. Within hours, Adam Silver's office had been notified of the chaos her comments caused. Legal teams and PR advisors began discussing possible next steps, including temporary NBA oversight or even Engelbert's removal if she couldn't regain control. Her credibility, once a symbol of stability, had become the league's biggest liability. The narrative had officially shifted. Kathy Engelbert wasn't just under fire. She was the fire. What made the collapse so devastating was how predictable it all was. For months, players had been warning that Engelbert's leadership was out of touch. They wanted better pay, safer conditions, and fair treatment. They wanted a commissioner who listened. But instead of reform, they got resistance. Even when the WNBA had its biggest opportunity, Caitlin Clark's explosive arrival and the wave of attention she brought, Engelbert fumbled it. Her failure to embrace Clark's stardom and her silence during the Olympic snub controversy became the defining symbol of her disconnect. Fans saw a league that punished success instead of celebrating it. Meanwhile, Silver saw something else, a disaster in slow motion. He knew how fragile this moment was. Caitlin Clark had done what no marketing team could: make women's basketball must-watch television. But without leadership to harness that momentum, the league was eating itself alive. So Silver did what he's known for. He intervened quietly but decisively. Reports began surfacing that the NBA had taken a more active role in overseeing the WNBA's labor negotiations, with Silver personally mediating behind the scenes. It wasn't just guidance anymore, it was governance. As Silver's influence grew, Engelbert's authority began to vanish. Her staff reportedly shrank, her media appearances became rare, and team executives started bypassing her office entirely. She had become the commissioner, in title only. Internally, the NBA had even formed a crisis advisory group to analyze what her removal might look like, an unmistakable sign that her days were numbered. Yet through it all, Engelbert remained defiant. She continued to insist the league was thriving, pointing to sponsorships and ratings even as players openly mocked her optimism. It was the same stubbornness that had turned her players into her critics. And when Adam Silver was asked whether he still had full confidence in her, his answer said everything. We're all working toward the same goal. It was a polite way of saying her leadership no longer defined that goal. By this point, the WNBA's situation had turned from tension into survival. The collective bargaining deadline loomed like a doomsday clock. The players wanted transparency and reform. The league offered platitudes. Silver, aware that the NBA's reputation was tied to the WNBA's stability, couldn't afford to let the league implode. Sponsors were nervous, broadcasters were restless, and fans were losing faith. Something had to give on soon. October arrived, and with it came the whispers of change. Insiders began hinting that Engelbert might be pushed out quietly, perhaps with a strategic transition announcement. Others claimed Silver would appoint a temporary commissioner until the storm passed. Whatever the outcome, one thing was certain. The NBA was now running the show. Engelbert, once the face of growth, had become the symbol of everything that went wrong. As Halloween approached the symbolic deadline for the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement, the tension reached a breaking point. Players posted cryptic messages on social media about new beginnings. Sponsors pulled advertising budgets until the league stabilized. Even Caitlin Clark, who had stayed out of politics, made a subtle but powerful statement: "We just want a league worth fighting for." That one sentence captured the mood of an entire sport teetering on the edge. Adam Silver knew exactly what she meant. Saving the WNBA wasn't just about contracts or ratings, it was about rebuilding trust, protecting players, and proving that women's basketball deserved better than poor leadership and politics. As the deadline approached, Silver's quiet control became open authority. Every major decision now went through him. Every public statement from the WNBA had his fingerprints on it. And when the dust finally settled, one truth was undeniable. The WNBA's survival now rested in the hands of the man who never planned to lead it. Adam Silver didn't create this crisis, but he's the only one powerful enough to end it. Whether that means replacing Engelbert, restructuring the league, or starting over entirely, the WNBA's next chapter depends on him. But the biggest question remains: can he rebuild what's already broken? Can he restore faith in a league that's been divided by its own leadership? Fans, players, and even sponsors are watching closely, waiting to see if this Halloween will mark the beginning of a rebirth, or the final curtain for the WNBA as we know it. And now we want to hear from you. Do you think Adam Silver stepping in is the right move for the WNBA? Should Kathy Engelbert step down before the league loses everything it's built? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.